Joe Dunn had got to Louis early. By the time Julie had arrived, he had choked down 2 old-fashions. Julie came up behind him at the bar. At first, Joe Dunn didn't notice her. She was wearing a good-looking black dress. For a second, in the mirror, Joe had a flash impression that somehow she looked smarter. As he turned, Julie was putting on her glasses. Joe gulped and turned back to the bar. "Well," he said, with a rising inflection. Julie smiled behind his back and climbed up on the next stool. "What's the idea of the delayed take?" "I didn't know you without glasses," Julie replied with slight annoyance that people refused to take her seriously without them. Joe shook his head without comment, but his eyes were eloquent. Then Julie said something which changed his mood. "Joe, listen, the strangest thing. I developed those shots I made of Reverend Fletcher, and every one of them came out blank. There wasn't a thing on a single film, nothing." Joe almost choked on his third drink. His shoulders began to shake, and then he was laughing out loud. "It's not funny," she said furiously, her eyes flashing. "I suppose you wrote your old story, and I fell down on the fixed assignment." "I wasn't laughing about that. I was laughing at the dumb stunts of a usually smart photog. You simply forgot to take the cover off your lens." "Idiot!" she snapped. "I did not. I didn't have a lens cover with me. I shot 8 perfect pictures, and I got 8 perfect blanks. There wasn't even a background detail. It was like unexposed film. I tell you, it's crazy." Joe had his own opinion on the matter, but he prudently dropped the subject. "I'm sorry," he said contritely. "There has to be some explanation, of course, but let's have dinner now." Dinner proved to be fun. Julie recovered from her worried, angry mood, and they began speculating on just what would happen if the world somehow came to an end. Julie had an interesting contribution on what would happen. It was based, she said, on some inside information she had been able to get from Sherman Billingsley. "Suddenly the whole world will be overrun with storks. Temporarily, of course. The storks that brought us will come and take us away. It's all very simple." They discovered it was 11 o'clock, so they left the restaurant and walked over to Fifth Avenue and took the bus uptown. They went into the RCA building of Radio City and took an elevator up to the observation platform. There was a small bar and only a few people in the room, so they felt as if they almost had it all to themselves. The night had clouded over, and it was warm and a little sultry for late October. Perched on stools at the bar, they ordered a highball and kept looking around the room for Mr. Fletcher, who as yet had not showed up. Julie walked out to the parapet and came back to report. "There's some lightning off towards New Jersey." Joe looked at his watch. It was 11:45. Still no Mr. Fletcher. It was beginning to rain, and one of the waiters had shut the door that led out onto the parapet. By this time there was a first-rate electrical storm crackling over the city. Julie was standing, looking out at the storm through the glass doors. "Looks like we've drawn a blank." "Like your pictures," said Joe Dunn. "Shall we go out and have a last look at New York?" Julie sniffed at the illusion, but pushed through the swing door. Joe grinned and followed. They walked out on the parapet into a rising wind that promised to blow into a small gale. There was a splattering of rain. The walkway was quite wet and slick. New York lay spread out below them, a fairy city of lights and graceful towers. Central Park was a postage stamp to the north, and Times Square seemed right below them on the left. They made their way against the wind around the parapet. It was 1:12, and New York was wide awake, beautiful and throbbing with life. "This is getting us nowhere, Julie, and we're getting wet," Dunn said finally. "It's dangerous to stay out here in the wind. Let's go back inside." Shivering slightly, the girl took his arm. As they leaned back against the wind to head for the door, there was a vivid flash of lightning, sudden shift of the wind.